Hi everyone, welcome to the demo session of cloud computing. This is Harshita, cloud professional trainer at Fortune Cloud Technologies. Let's get started with cloud computing demo session. Let us understand what is cloud computing, why is cloud computing required, who are the cloud providers, and all these details in our very first demo session. Okay, now before I tell you a proper definition or a textbook definition of what cloud computing is, I want you to imagine this situation. Okay, let's say there are two teams, team A and team B. Okay, so for both of the teams, the ideal, project given is to build an application. Okay, to build an application. This is the task which is being given to both of these teams. Now let us try to understand what are the different approaches in which both of these teams go ahead and build or complete the task which is given, that is building an application. Now what team A does is, team A is going to purchase physical servers, IT staff, space, okay, and all the other required things which is used to build an application. Okay, now this is what team A does. Now in here, one more thing which is also included is they're going to wait for approvals. Okay, now all these things might take around 2 to 3 months for team A to build an application. Now let us see in which approach does team B goes for. Now what team B does is open the laptop, go to cloud and build an application. Yes? What do you think? Which team is going to make the client's request as soon as possible? Or which team is going to get the money of building that application as soon as possible? Yes? Are you thinking? Now, I think you're going with the answer team B. Now, you might be thinking that definitely it is team B because they are not wasting their time on purchasing resources. Instead, what they're doing is they open their laptop, they go to something called as cloud and they build an application. Now, there is a word which you see here, cloud. Now, let us try to understand what that cloud is. Okay, cloud is nothing but it is an on demand delivery. Cloud is nothing but on demand delivery. Now, on demand delivery of what? On demand delivery of IT resources. On demand delivery of IT resources. When I say IT resources, it can be physical computers, it can be space, nothing but storage, okay, or it can be platform, anything, right? A lot of things. Now, when I say IT resources, again, physical servers, physical computers, network, space, storage, RAM, all these things come under IT resources. Now, the entire word is nothing but cloud computing. Correct? You got to know that what is cloud. Cloud is nothing but on-demand delivery of IT resources. Computing is nothing but processing. So when you combine, you're basically what you're doing is on-demand delivery of IT resources. It should be through a medium. What is that medium? That is internet. Via internet. Yes. Did you get an idea about what is cloud computing? Let me repeat myself. Cloud computing is nothing but on demand delivery of IT resources via the internet. We understood that cloud is nothing but on demand delivery, computing is nothing but processing of IT resources. IT resources can be storage, IT resources can be computers, IT resources can be servers, and etc. I hope you've got an insight over what is cloud computing. Okay, now if I have to take you through an example of why do we actually are using cloud, right? That should be your next question. Now let us go back to the example which we have discussed. Team A, it purchased everything and it waited for approvals, etc., to build an application. And team B instead, it rented out IT resources. From where? From cloud. Now that is why you have to understand why cloud computing is necessary. Here in cloud computing, you don't own things, but you rent them out. Generically, renting them out is much more cheaper than owning them, according to the requirement again. Okay. Having that said, I have the second point where it says instead of owning servers, we are going to rent them out from cloud providers. Now, you'd have heard this word for the first time, cloud providers. Who are these cloud providers? Cloud providers such as Amazon Web Services, Azure, you can say IBM Cloud, GCP, that is Google Cloud Platform. All these are nothing but cloud providers from where we are going to rent the IT resources. Okay. Now, next point is you can access anywhere and anytime. Now, since you have already understood that we are basically renting out things via internet, any possible place on this universe which has proper internet connectivity, you can use cloud. You can be on cloud. Okay, so that is what I mean to say when I say access anywhere, anytime. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now I have a small example in here which goes this way. Okay, let's say I want electricity for my house. Okay, let's say I want electricity for my house. Now, one thing as an option, what I have is I can build a power plant. I can build a power plant and then make use of the electricity which is generated by the power plant. On the other hand, I have another option where you can say government is building this power plant and it is providing you electricity. You are just making use of this electricity by paying some amount to the government. Which one of these examples do you think is the most appropriate and is the most cost effective? Yes? Did you think of the second option where everything is being already done? Everything which is supposed to be done is already done. The end user, that is you, is going to only make use of this particular electricity by paying some amount to them. Correct? Now you might be thinking, how is this related to cloud computing? Now let me connect this to cloud computing. Okay? Like I said, you have, okay, let me open a new page. Okay? Cloud computing is all about renting, and we are going to pay as we go, right? Now, which is the option that you think is more appropriate? Because if I'm going to generate an electric plant, it is apparently going to cost me more, correct? But if I just make use of it and pay for how much ever I am using it, it is cost effective. Makes sense, right? Similarly, in your cloud, there is something called as pay as you go model. Okay, pay as you go model. You're only paying for what you're making use of. Okay, you're only going to pay for whatever the resource you are going to use. That is why it is cost effective. Okay, you might have the question, why cloud computing? Correct? What is cloud computing? You're aware of now. The next question you will ask me is, why cloud computing? Like we have discussed, it works under something called as pay as you go model, and hence the users, that is we, will be paying only for the resources that we are using. If we are not using any resource, we are not paying. It works like that. Okay, that brings us to the point, cost effective. Okay, next, scalability. Okay, let us consider you have built an application. You have built an application, and there comes a point where you need to add some more resources to your application. Okay, there comes a point where you need to add some more resources to your application. Now how does this work is, since you want to add certain resource, let's say your application, the data in your application is being really huge, the database has lost its storage capacity, and you need some more space now, meaning you need some more storage now. Okay, what do? You simply go to cloud and you buy some storage from there, and you add that storage onto your application. Okay, storage here is nothing but a resource which you are renting out from a cloud provider. Okay, this cloud provider can be anybody, AWS, it can be Azure, it can be GCP, any cloud provider. Okay, now let's say you have added storage, right? So you have scaled up. Now let's say after some point of time, you don't want this particular storage anymore. What do? You take it out. This is nothing but removing, and this is nothing but scaling down. Correct? Likewise, if I have to give you an overall point about scalability, I would say, according to the requirement of the user, you can scale up or down in cloud, meaning you can add more resources according to your requirement, or you can cut down those resources. That comes to the point scalability. Okay, now this is one of the second point why we are choosing cloud computing. Okay, let's go to the next point. Elasticity. Have you heard about this word before? I'm not asking in cloud computing, but in generally, have you heard about elasticity? Now, in general, elastic means if you like, if there is an elastic rubber band, let us consider you're pulling it from two sides. It gets pulled. Now, the time you leave it, it comes to its original shape. Likewise, in your cloud computing, the property elasticity means that whenever there are more number of users or more number of clients who wants to use cloud, it works fine. Okay, since it has so many resources, it works fine. You're basically pulling out the number of resources, and let's say there are zero users one day, it comes back to its original shape. It's like that. Now, if I have to relate it to something which you already know, you would have heard about this particular social entertainment application, Netflix, right? Most of you have an account in Netflix. Yeah, Netflix usually, you know, what it has is it has series, it has films, etc. Now, let's say there is a most wanted series coming up, or the most likable movie which is going to be launched this weekend, and all of us are really waiting to watch that movie or series which is going to be released. Let's say there are 1 million people who want to watch this film or series at the same time. At the same time. Now, what Netflix does Netflix allow me and not allow you? Or is it vice versa? Definitely not. Everybody who has an account in Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hotstar or any other application, it is going to elasticate itself to certain extent. Okay. Now, like I said, here we can take up the point pay as you go model as well, because Netflix is going to pay only for the resources it bought and it is currently using. Let's say there are 10 million people. It is going to pay for these many resources. Now, one day, let's say there are zero users. Now, here, Netflix doesn't pay at all. Understanding? You can also understand elasticity from this particular example. Okay, so this is why we need cloud computing. Okay, the next point what we have is accessibility. Like you have already known, I came up with a point that is you can access anywhere, anytime. Since you already know that if you have internet connection, you can have cloud anywhere. Likewise, accessibility means you can access cloud anywhere, anytime. Okay, that comes to the point accessibility. Okay, so these are the few reasons why we are using cloud computing in the real world applications. Okay, I hope you have understood by now what is cloud computing, why do we have to use cloud computing. Now, let us look into the major cloud providers. Okay, The major cloud providers are AWS. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services, and then you have Azure, okay, and you have GCP, that is Google Cloud Platform, okay, and a lot of other cloud providers which are available globally. Now, in this particular course of cloud computing, we will be choosing a web services called as Amazon Web Services. Now, if you have a question, why are we using AWS and not Azure? Correct. Azure is also cloud provider, but why are we not using it? If you have that question in your mind, well, let me tell you or give you an answer for it. Now, AWS, this particular platform is user friendly. If I have to be precise, then it is also called as beginner friendly. Okay, whereas Azure or any other cloud providers is enterprise oriented. When I say enterprise oriented, it means that companies which are using Microsoft tools make use of Azure cloud. Okay. Now that is what Azure is oriented to. And that is why we are going with AWS. Okay. Now talking about cost. Now in AWS it will cost you 2 rupees, that is less than a cup of coffee, correct? Rupees 2 is less than a cup of coffee. Now paying 2 rupees, we can use almost 200 plus services in AWS. Okay, so these are the few reasons why we'll be going with Amazon Web Services and not Azure and not Google Cloud Platform or not IBM Cloud or iCloud or anything. Okay, so since it is cost effective, it is user friendly, beginner friendly, right? So these are the reasons what makes us use AWS in cloud computing. Okay, now let us go ahead and study some of the cloud service models. Okay, cloud provides three different service models. Let me write it down. The first one is infrastructure as a service. The second one is platform as a service. The third one is software as a service. Now, let me explain you in detail what infrastructure as a service is, what platform as a service is, also what software as a service is. Okay. So, infrastructure as a service is generally called as this. Okay. IaaS, I stands for infrastructure, AAS stands for as a service. So, as a service is common in all the service model. The only thing that changes is the first word. Now, let me give you a real world example here. Let's say you have been given a site. Okay, this is your site. Now, in your site, you're free to do whatever you want to do, whatever you feel like doing. Correct? You have, okay, you can either build a building or an apartment or, a mansion or a single house, or just leave it like how it is. Now, here, when I said you have been given a site, it means that you have an infrastructure given to you and you own the full responsibility and you have the full freedom of doing whatever you feel like doing. Correct? That is infrastructure as a service in cloud computing, where an infrastructure is being given to you and you can do anything with that infrastructure. Okay? Example for infrastructure as a service, I could say AWS EC2 service. Okay, you might wonder what this EC2 service is. I will tell you. But here, the one thing you should know is we are talking about infrastructure as a service. Now, this particular service acts as infrastructure. Okay, where EC2 provides you servers, virtual machines, in which you can do anything. You can either deploy an application or host a website. Full freedom is being given to you in terms of infrastructure as a service. Okay, I hope it is clear. Now, the next service is platform as a service. Okay, let us consider platform to be your home. Okay, this is your space, and here there is already certain thing which is set up. Correct? There's already certain thing which is set up. Now all you can do here is you can, let's say there is window and you can bring curtains for these windows. Let's say there is door and this space you can get a sofa, this here you can get a table, and make changes according to your requirement. If I have to give it a word, I can simply say customization. You can do customization in platform as a service. Okay, let us consider your home, and if you don't require this sofa here, you can change it to here. If you're not liking the placement of the table, you can place it somewhere else. If you're not liking the screen, you can replace it with one more. Likewise, in platform as a service, you can do any customization according to your requirement or the client requirement. Okay, I hope platform as a service is clear for you. Let's go ahead. Okay, one I could say example for platform as a service would be Google App Engine. Okay, this is a platform which is provided by Google, but you can do a lot of customization there. Okay, so this is one of the example. Let's go for the last service model we have in cloud, that is software as a service. In software as a service, an end product is being given to you where you can use it, and if you need any extra modification in it, you can pay and make use of that extra premium things. Now let me give you an example to make this topic really easy. Let's say you're using Google Photos. Google Photos is an application. It is a software application provided by Google. Now here, let's say 5 GB was given to you when you created an account. Now, since you have a lot of files, videos, photos in your phone, you need some extra GBs to store those photos, videos, and all of that. Now, what Google Photos suggests you is Google Photos sends you a message telling the storage is full. Now, what you can do is you can buy some extra storage and pay me some amount. Now, what are you doing there? The service which is given by Google Photos is some extra storage. They're giving you some extra resource for which you have to be paying some amount to them. That is software as a service in cloud computing. Okay, where a software is acting as a service and you're paying for whatever you are using. Okay, so these were the three service models in cloud computing. Now, if I have to give you one more little example in software as a service, you're knowingly or unknowingly making use of software as a service in your day to day life. Now, how is that? Haven't you used Google Photos? Haven't you used OneDrive? Haven't you used your Gmail? Yeah, so all these are nothing but their software as a service, where this particular software is giving you a service. It can be storing data or sending message, okay, or receiving message, any service it can be. But if you need any extra thing, you would have to pay for it. Okay, so that is how software as a service works, right? So this was all about the cloud service models. Let's go ahead and understand what are cloud deployment models. Cloud deployment models are of three types: public, private, and hybrid. Okay, let us understand public deployment model. Public deployment model is nothing but where the cloud is accessible by anybody. Anything which is there on cloud and which is being deployed under public is accessible by anybody across the globe who has proper internet connectivity. For example, if I consider AWS account or Google account, anybody in this globe who has proper internet connection can have these accounts valid. Why? Because they are public. Okay, let us go to private cloud. Private cloud are owned by companies for internal processing. For internal processing. Okay, so private cloud comes into picture for huge companies like IBM, Google, Amazon. They all have some part of their company which are under private cloud, where they are not ready to share that cloud with any other departments. Now, you would have heard about the company Cisco. Cisco is one of the leading networking companies. Cisco has their own private cloud, which is company owned, right? It is enterprise by only the company. They're not sharing their cloud with any other cloud, making it private. Okay, let's come to hybrid cloud now. Hybrid cloud is nothing but mix of private plus public. Now, few companies will have both private cloud and public cloud. Now, why do you think is both private and public cloud necessary? Let me tell you why. Now, let us consider an example of bank or hospital. Okay, in here, Bank has some sensitive data which has to be under private cloud. Okay, bank has sensitive data like your bank balance, your account id, your customer id, your Aadhaar card details, PAN card details. Well, these details are very sensitive and which has to be under protected, that is private cloud. Now the other details such as different branches of the bank, IFSC code, all these are nothing but on a public platform, because everybody wants to know how many branches are there of this particular bank in India or globally. Okay. Now this was an example for bank. Now let us consider a hospital. In hospital, there will be different patients who will have different records. Now these records are supposed to be private, correct? The other details can be public, correct? So there are some details which different domains make use of, and they keep certain data under private cloud, sensitive data. Now the other details which can be public, they keep under public cloud. So this was all about cloud deployment models. Yes, so by now we have understood what is cloud, right? We have understood what is cloud. We have also understood why cloud, correct? We have given an insight of cloud service models. We also have understood who are the cloud providers, and we got to know about cloud deployment model, right? So these are the very basic concepts a cloud professional should know, right? So understood the key concepts of cloud computing. Well, today, besides learning the basics of cloud computing, the deployment models, service models, cloud providers, I will be introducing you to one more very powerful thing called as DevOps. Now, many of you might be wondering what exactly DevOps means. Let me make it very simple for you. Imagine you're writing or you're creating a cool application on your laptop and it works perfectly fine. You've created an application and it works perfectly fine. You say, yes, my application is ready. But when the operations team tries to run it on their server, it crashes. Now, this is where developers and operations team come into a clash. Now, since you are a developer, you will be telling that it works fine on my system, but the operations team say that it doesn't work on mine. Now the fight between DevOps and operations have wasted a lot of weeks in a lot of companies. Now this is where something called as DevOps come into picture, where if you can see there are two words in DevOps. First word, development, right? The second word, operations, right? Like I told you, there is a clash between the development team and the operation team. The developer says that it is the application is working fine in my system. The operation While the operation team says that it is not working in us. There's a crash which is going to take time to deploy that application at the end. Now, like I said, this is what made DevOps come into picture, right? So this fight between development and operation has, like I told you, it has wasted. And DevOps is the way of working in which you have set of tools that is going to bring developers and operators together to code and move from the laptop to live service. Okay, let's say you are the developer and you have built this application which is on your laptop. Now you have to host it in a server, right? From this particular step to this step, you have DevOps with you. Yes, I hope you have got an insight about it. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say Netflix, right? So every time you open Netflix, you see new features and updates. So Netflix updates thousands of servers daily without downtime. Now, if you think how, it is because of DevOps. Okay, let me repeat myself. You'd have all used Netflix application, and every time you try to um, give an update over it, you see there are more features and more updates over it. Now, how does this happen? Thousands of servers have been using daily for this to happen without the downtime, meaning without wasting much time. Now, how is this? It's because of DevOps. Let's say Amazon. Amazon deploys new code every 11 seconds using DevOps pipelines. Okay, so that is an example over Amazon. So even a lot of startup nowadays with small team complete with giant DevOps because they deliver faster, right? So this was a small introduction about DevOps for you. Let me also tell you why it matters, right? So the first thing would be setting up servers. Setting up servers. How do you set up servers? Through cloud, right? So the first thing, like I said, would be setting up servers. That will be learning in cloud. The second thing would be connecting networks. Connecting networks. This will be learning in networking, right? The third thing would be delivering applications automatically. This will be doing through DevOps. Now, these are the reasons why why DevOps matters in the IT hub. Now, if you know networking, cloud, DevOps, and AWS, you instantly stand out. Okay, you instantly stand out. You're not just a student anymore. You're job ready, right? So this is why we'll be learning DevOps. Okay. Let me quickly tell you the benefits of DevOps. Okay, first thing is definitely the speed, because we are doing two things here, that is development and operation. When we are doing two, when you're working with two different domains in the same platform, apparently you deliver your project way more faster. The second thing is automation, right? Second thing is automation. You don't waste much time on boring manual step because you have everything automated. The third thing would be reliability, right? So how reliability? Applications can run with fewer errors, which is going to help us to make the application more reliable and more quicker, I could say. The fourth point would be teamwork, right? Since there will be no clash between the development or the operations team, they can work together and smoothly as well. So that's why companies pay high salaries for DevOps engineer. Okay, so this is one of the major reasons, that is speed, automation, reliability, teamwork. So this is what makes DevOps a very important pool in the IT domain. So when I say you'll be learning DevOps here in Fortune Cloud, I don't just mean to study the tools like Git, Genix, Docker, or Kubernetes. I mean to say that you'll be learning how Google, Netflix, Amazon delivers software at lightning speed without breaking things. Okay, so if you consider networking as roads, cloud as a city, DevOps is nothing but a traffic system that keeps everything moving smoothly. Okay, so if you master all these three, that is cloud computing, networking, AWS, DevOps, you're not just keeping up with the technology, you're leading it, right? So here at Fortune Cloud Technologies, we'll be covering all these technological things such as AWS cloud computing, DevOps, and networking, start right from the basics. So this was all about our demo session. I hope it has given you an insight about what cloud computing is. Thanks for watching.